I am very happy to welcome everyone on the occasion when Wadi Rahma English School Kodiyathu conducts a debate on motivation, intrinsic versus extrinsic. The Canadian art director, Danny Reynolds, once said, "Intellectuals debate, idiots just argue." This is our inspiration. We believe in the words of the Harvard essayist Emerson. Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where you want to go and leave a trail. It's our passion to take the roads and travel, or rather, rarely travel. I'm here to welcome you everyone. Our chief guest is Dr. Yaseen Ashraf, a legendary scholar, an author, and the associate editor of Madhyamam Daily. I consider it not only my privilege, but the honor of our whole school to host him as the moderator of this debate. With due respect, I extend a warm welcome to you, sir. Let me now welcome our beloved principal, Mr. Yaseen Ashraf, the charismatic leader who sets the wheels of our school on motion, to give a brief account of the subject. I extend a hearty welcome to you, sir. It's my turn to welcome our Vice Principal, Mr. Abdul Nasser Macheri. It's his sense of commitment that accelerates our achievements. I extend an affable welcome to you, sir. This debate is a cognitive contest between two teams of our teachers, where the team on my right representing proposition, they talk for intrinsic motivation, and the team on my left, opposition, represents extrinsic motivation. Dear speakers, you are the meat and potatoes of this debate. I roll out the red carpet for you. Now, here are my dear teachers and other respected dignitaries. I welcome Montessori Head Mufsir Amis, Project Coordinator Mr. Talha Hussain, our Administrator Mr. Anwar Bawa, and all my respected teachers. You are all welcome. I am delighted to see my beloved students sitting in front of me to witness this debate. I extend a friendly welcome to you, my dear ones. The support and cooperation of the ancillary workers who are conducting this debate is unspeakable. I welcome them all. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rashid. The moderator, the teams which are ready for the voice battle, intrinsic motivation team and extrinsic motivation team, the chief organizer, Mr. Abdul Rashid, vice principal, Mr. Abdul Nasser Macheri, respected teachers and beloved students. Motivation is a psychological phenomenon which means the needs and wants of an individual have to be tackled with an incentive protocol. When you talk about the incentive protocol, the frame that talks about the incentive. It can come from within or it can come from outside. If it comes from within, you call it as intrinsic. And if it comes from outside, we call it extrinsic. One thing is for certain, that you need motivation. You need a spark. You need a stimulus that constantly, consistently drives you to achieve your goals. If you make it simple, let's start with the scientific definition of energy. Energy, the capacity to do work. Every individual has the innate energy to work, whether it is physical labor or anything else. But the way we use the energy depends. People have this, and what we have seen is that people have used this energy very creatively and very productively and created things which make us remember them. If you look back, the first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, was influenced by the great poem written by Robert Frost, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. The last lines have attracted hundreds of thousands of people across the globe. The woods are leveling dark and deep. But I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. This was in his room, on his table. It inspired him on a daily basis. Perhaps that must have been the energy with which he worked continuously, consistently, and created an image which drives hundreds of thousands of Indians, and we admire him as one of the great Prime Ministers of India. And we also have seen such great leaders who have taken energy to commit themselves for the cause which drove them. That's how Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi became the father of the nation, India, and the altruistic model of humanity, Mother Teresa, and many more to count. So, here, as our academic coordinator said, our staff, their cognition, their understanding, have divided them into groups. We have a group which valiantly fight for the intrinsic motivation, and there is another group which vehemently oppose and put forward the idea of extrinsic motivation. Of course, undoubtedly, we need motivation, whether it comes from within or it comes from outside. If you have to translate your desire of success into your achieved goal, definitely there must be a motivation constantly working on you. And these teachers will focus, I believe, how the children, the learners can be motivated. Whether it should be the intrinsic motivation that drives them to learn, or the extrinsic motivation that we provide them in the form of awards or punishment. I'm convinced on the fact that these teams have their points to make, and I'm sure they are going to make a pretty good debate which will ignite the young minds who are going to be the listeners, and you will come to a conclusion at the end And I also have a word that you must analyze yourself. What's my rate of motivation and how I can sustain it? I wish both the teams all the best, and it's going to be a candy for your eyes, at the same time an inspiring thought to your ears. Wish you all the best. Have a great time of debate. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Mr. Yaseen Joseph, Principal. Mr. Abdul Rashid P. Mr. Abdul Nasser. The debate is on two sides. The members of the audience. Actually, this is a very interesting and exciting kind of game. A game which has relation to our lives. We have here teachers, administrators, teachers who are to deliver the educational content, and the students who are the receivers, and the administrators who have to supervise these things. Maybe there are also parents here, I suppose. And for everyone in this room, there is a stake in this debate. Are we, as students, going to learn by ourselves, or are we waiting to be persuaded to learn? This is a debate which is as old as institutionalized education itself. And as we listen to the debate here, I'm sure that many of the issues in our lives, our minds, will be clear, and whether it's not going to be a final solution, as they say, to educational issues, but we'll have learned much more. And I don't want to say anything more at this stage as moderator, because that would be getting into chapter 2. I would like to introduce the debaters on the two sides in the order in which they will be appearing. We have here, as you can see, intrinsic motivation team and the extrinsic motivation team. The intrinsic motivation team going to argue that motivation has to come from within, and the extrinsic motivation team trying to argue that the pressure, the motivation has to come from outside. The first speaker for the proposition for the intrinsic motivation will be Ms. Bindu Moul Wilson. The first speaker for the opposition extrinsic team is Ms. Yaseen Ashraf, class teacher at primary stage. The second speaker for the proposition is Ms. Priya B, English teacher. The second speaker for the opposition is Mr. Nishad, English teacher. The third speaker for the proposition is Ms. Nadira, science teacher. The third speaker for the opposition is Ms. Mubashira, English teacher. Fourth speaker for the proposition is Mr. Muhammad Hanifa, history teacher. Fourth speaker for the opposition is Ms. Nazia, science teacher. And then the sweep speakers, the sweep speaker for the opposition is Mr. Ramesh Kumar, PGT Economics. And the sweep speaker for the proposition is Ms. Nada O, the coordinator of the class. So there we are. I think everyone is ready, the teams are ready, and we'll begin it now. Shall we begin? May I call upon the first speaker for the proposition, Ms. Bindumol Wilson, to take.
Good afternoon, everyone. Intrinsic motivation refers to behavior that is driven by the internal rewards like self-satisfaction and self-esteem. This is the motivation that leads one to engage in a behavior arising from within the individual because it is naturally satisfying. Intrinsic motivation is the basic motivation that every living being should have. In order to live and be successful, we should be intrinsically motivated. Intrinsic rewards are intangible awards of recognition. If you are training our children to be intrinsically motivated, they are going to work with whole heart and we can see the achievement that they are going to get and the satisfaction that appears within them, which boosts them to be successful in their life. External rewards are tangible and are given physically to someone who is accomplishing something. If we are training our children to be extrinsic, when they grow up in their life, they are never going to be successful in their life. They are going to be working only for the benefits that they are going to get, only for what they gain. They will be always thinking about what they are going to get out of what they are doing. They are less satisfactory, shorter, and are not long lasting. They can never do selfless activities, selfless service to the society. They will never work for relationships. In order to boost relationship, they will not be working anything. They will not be doing anything. They will be only thinking about what they are getting, what they will get out of the relationship that they are going to keep. They will be prone when they become grown-ups. They will be prone to do corruption. So as teachers, the real work the teacher will have to do is to intrinsically motivate the children. If we are going to intrinsically motivate them and assist them to move on in the correct direction, they are going to achieve their goals without fail. As teachers, we should ignite an internal fire in the children so that the fire that will be burning within them, the desire to achieve the goals they are going to, the goals, they will be working hard. They will be able to face, that fire will enable them to face challenges, to face crises, and with a good outlook. They will be able to be creative in their life. And finally, I want to remind you what Albert Einstein said about this. If people are going to be good only because they fear punishments and hope for rewards, they are going to be a sorry lot. So, I strongly propose everyone to be intrinsically motivated, and I strongly ask you to make our children to be intrinsically motivated so that they will be creative in their life and they will be doing so much of social benefits without thinking about what they are going to receive. So, thank you. Thank you so much.
First speaker for the opposition is Yaseen Ashraf.
A very warm good afternoon to each and everyone present here. I stand in favor of extrinsic motivation. First of all, I would like to oppose my opponent with a point. She has made a point that extrinsic rewards are tangible. Well, we all know that intrinsic motivation is completely intangible, whereas extrinsic motivation has got tangible and intangible rewards. Psychological extrinsic rewards includes praise, appreciation, inspiration, support, encouragement, etc. Sometimes a child doesn't need a tangible reward like a toffee, a star, or a big chocolate. What the child needs is just a praise that you are a good boy. Motivation has to be based upon the circumstances and the personality of the individuals involved in it. For example, we all teachers face this problem every time in the classroom. The students are not always they don't have internal desire to be engaged in an activity. But when this extrinsic reward is very appropriately used in the classroom, the teacher has got a very powerful tool. As the famous Russian psychologist Vygotsky has said, that when a child does something today with assistance, tomorrow the child will do it alone. So extrinsic reward motivates you to do something in which you were not interested previously. In reality, it is really impossible to avoid completely extrinsic motivator or being motivated by the extrinsic rewards. Extrinsic rewards has got many benefits in our classroom. If I say that, first of all, there will be a positive and very appropriate behavior of the students in the classroom, boosted self-esteem, completed homeworks, and of course we will have a wonderful result. Extrinsic reward will never demolish the child's drive to achieve the goal, but it will always try him to do it more better. Extrinsic rewards are very apt for a large number of students, and intrinsic motivation is a long process. So after a long process, if we come to know that it's not going to work, then it's just going to be a waste of time. Extrinsic rewards will always give you the results quickly, and we can just go on, we can do whatever we can have, or else we can go to the other option. As a primary teacher, I would really like to know how to introduce this intrinsic motivation in my children, my little ones, who have 6 to 7 new subjects in front of them. I would like to conclude my words with a reminder that each and everyone here present today is a beneficiary of extrinsic reward or an extrinsic motivator in your life. Thank you.
Next is the second round. First, the second speaker for the proposition is Be Free.
Good afternoon, everyone. Education is control over one's mind. As my opponent has said about the qualities of reward, I would like to ask her a question. Don't you feel that your children are under the control of reward? Every time they are getting reward, they will be used to it. They won't get away from their reward. Reward gives only extrinsic motivation. Reward is one side of the coin, and the other side of that coin of extrinsic motivation is punishment. A child should know the value of discipline if he know it intrinsically only. Otherwise, in another situation, he will not be attentive or will not show the discipline. As I already mentioned that reward and punishment are the two sides of the same coin. are affecting the children negatively only. Punishment. It is this fear that causes in the mind and heart of the children. This is very painful, inhuman and cruel. Suppose, I'll give you an example. Suppose a child is punished for threatening others. He is caned for threatening others. And he will do the same thing again and again because he don't know the value of that. He don't know why he is not allowed to do that, why he has been caned. Instead, he should know that this is not the way of treating others. He will continue that threatening even day after day in order to release the strain that is caused by caning. Naturally, he will become dropout. He will go negative into the subject and he will be in the hand of social evils too. Take another example. A mother is taking her two children to the beach. One child is throwing sand on the other one. So naturally the mother is saying sternly that if you don't stop throwing sand on your brother, you will have to quit. Again the boys does the same thing. Then the mother says, why can't you be like your brother? He is simply sitting there and playing, why can't you be like him? And he curses him, or he says that you should be like your brother. So, and at that time, here so many negative consequences are coming. The mother is actually threatening. Here verbal threatening is there. Insult is there. Shame is there. Physical pain is there. So instead of this, mother could have said, it seems that you wanted to play with your brother. So shall we ask him to play with you? That can be adopted. Counseling method can be adopted to know what is the view and share and how the class can be very attentive or enjoyable to the student. Punishment cannot give any internal motivation. Actually, many international organizations has banned punishment. RTE Act 2009 has prohibited punishment and mental harassment. Likewise, academically everyone is doing better. Everyone is getting good marks in their subjects. But how far they are able to attain their goal? Maybe they be getting good marks in their progress card, but when you see in the future, he may not have gained anything. It is because of the lack of intrinsic motivation. It's time to change. We have to change from extrinsic motivation to intrinsic motivation because it is long-lasting and it is self-control and it is value-based. Thank you.
The second speaker for the opposition, Mr. Nishant.
ലാളയേത് പഞ്ചവർഷാലി, താടയേത് ദശവർഷാലി, കൗമാരേ പുത്രമിത്ര തുല്യം. An authentic scripture of Hinduism, Purana, says that the first 5 years of a child should be given enough pampering. The rest 10 years should be given punishment. And in the time of teenage, the child should be considered as a friend. So I think the very authentic Holy Scripture verses are enough to contradict their ideas against punishment. Unless we give enough and desirable punishment, we can't expect for the child a very anticipating or desirable result. Secondly, when they speak with the thousands of tongues against this punishment, I must ask you, please just imagine about a school where there is any kind of punishment. What will be the condition of that school? There will be complete confusion and chaos wherever we see in that school. So that school is going to be like a forest where might is right. Some will be dominating there. And thirdly, I want to contradict again that think about a strict teacher whereas a lenient teacher. The assignment and homework given by a strict teacher will be done or will be given priority more than the lenient teacher. They will do both. They will do the homeworks of both strict teacher and a lenient teacher. But my dear children, if I ask you, who do you give priority? Surely the answer will be that is of a strict teacher, because they fear. This out of fear leads them naturally study the subject in the long run. At last, they will be motivated and they will internalize the topic. So hereafter, I want to speak something about reward too. They are telling that there is no any value for this marks, grades and all. But I ask, if you go for admission to the next school, won't they look at your marks and grades? Or can you suggest any other methods? Can you suggest any other criteria for getting admission? I think you cannot. And our children coming after hailing the trophies of synergy and work experience, coming to school, we are not honoring them. We are not telling anything. We are not giving any kind of encouragement. What would happen? Instead of that, what we have done, we call them together in front of a huge audience. They are applauded in front of the audience. What does the child feel then? The child felt that I got some trophies. Not only that, child understood that I got a value in the society. Society accepted me. My speech is accepted. My writing is accepted. So this is what we encourage by reward. I must ask you, why state Kalotsav is this much competitive and eye-catching? There is a reason they provide grace mark for that. Children expecting of grace mark, study well, hard, they work very hard for performing well. At last, this artistic skills of the children will be improved then. And one more thing, I conclude my speech telling that as you sow, so shall you reap. If you want to get anything, you want to sow. You give some input, only then you can expect the output. Thank you.
Now the third round. The third speaker for the proposition is Ms. Wadi Rahma.
Good afternoon, everybody. I never teach my children. I only provide the situation in which they can learn. These are the famous words of Albert Einstein. I strongly oppose what my friend has commented. See, he mentioned about the rewards and punishment. But let me ask one question. My friend, what is the function of the root of plants? Those roots, the function of those roots are penetrate deeper into the soil and gets water and minerals that they want. If you supply everything externally, all the factors externally to your children, how do they develop? How can they use their roots and their inborn talents? You are actually blocking their inborn talents. You are supplying everything into their own hand, so they will never develop. And secondly, you said you are molding the characters of the children by supplying these extrinsic factors. But if you look, you can see the number of criminal students goes on increasing. Why this is happening? At present it is happening. Why this is happening? In my opinion, that is due to the lack of strong internal motivation and value-based education. The lack of this one reveals that the number of criminal students are increasing. Intrinsic motivation has to do more with purpose, meaning, service, duty, learning and growth. Whereas extrinsic motivation has to do more with title, financial rewards, publicity, fame, and etc. Intrinsic motivation is doing a thing for its own inherent satisfaction. For example, participating in sports. You will see fun and you can enjoy it if you are voluntarily participating in it. But when you participate in the sports for winning an award, you never enjoy the same. And one more thing, suppose you want to acquire a communication skill in any language, there must be strong internal motivation. Then only you can achieve the same. Those who have external motivation, extrinsic motivation, cannot achieve a communication skill in any language. So, as teachers, we have to prepare strong goals in our children and struggle hard to achieve the same. And only intrinsically motivated children can chase their goal. They can attain their goal. Their motivation is lifelong. No one is required to support them. See, they can achieve their goal even any support is not there. See, in case of intrinsically motivated children, they cannot achieve their goal. If whenever they lost the support they will be in trouble. They get worried about that one and they will never chase their goal. And as teachers, we can set short-term goals in our classroom transaction. That means we can state the curricular objective before starting the class. Once the learner comes to know about the state, that means about the goal of the class, they will be internally motivated to achieve the same. So nowadays, we must internally motivate our children so that they can acquire value-based education. Otherwise, if any child see any accident on the way, they will be enjoying the same. Intrinsically motivated children will take care of them all. So I strongly believe in intrinsic motivation. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to oppose one of the statements of my opponent, is that support and monitoring is not needed. If it is a project method or any other teaching learning method, there should be a support and monitoring. Without this, a conclusion is not possible. Motivation helps you to start, but habits keeps you moving. In this case, again you need external motivation. Then you start it again. The next point which I oppose is that teachers are internally motivating a learner to acquire his goal. I strongly oppose this. Yes, social constructivism is there, but normally what is happening in the schools? Classroom teaching, behaviorism. Because parents as well as the society as a whole demand for rewards, so it happens. Here, what is the role of a facilitator or a mentor? He or she is externally motivating the learner to acquire his goal. What is leadership? The best quality of a leader is motivating the followers. Their duty is to motivate others. The leader may be internally motivated. If one gets internal motivation, it may be a lack. All the leaders are external motivators. You might know that Mark Anthony's speech on Caesar's funeral. There you can see the power of external motivation. All the revolutions were happened because of external motivation. What is motivation? Motivation is the force that creates an action or behavior. There are many motivational theories. Need theory of motivation, belief theory of motivation.
the fourth round. The fourth speaker for the opposition, for the proposition is Mr. Hanifa.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm here to share my argument about the intrinsic motivation. So I'm starting with a famous quote of former UN member Ivan Chavana. Only those who play win. Only those who risk win. History favors risk takers. Forget about the timers. Everything else is a commentary. So, here, one of my opponents argue about the how intrinsic motivation adopted in a classroom. Here is my answer in that question. That is, before that, I would like to bring your notice about the how to introduce intrinsic motivation in our classrooms. So, I am introducing some methods in the classroom how to introduce intrinsic motivation in our classroom. So, at the outset, I must say that motivation intrinsically, it is not an easy job. But there are some methods to adopt intrinsic motivation in our classroom. Here is, first one is project-based learning. As my earlier speaker mentioned about the project-based learning. I don't know how much knowledge about this project-based learning, but I am thoroughly explaining this project-based learning, how to introduce intrinsic motivation in our classroom. So, project-based learning is start with our text, presenting text as a life. It's a life, and like challenging problems. After this brainstorming, students share their knowledge in the group, analyze the problem, and reach at a conclusion. Here, students construct knowledge and say they are intrinsically motivated. These are the core aim of project-based learning. And here, unlike what the traditional teachers are doing, they are teaching and students are remembering the things. Same thing doing every day. And here is the project-based learning, student-centered learning, also activity-centered also. And second method is hands-on learning, learning by doing. It's another way of motivation. Here, in the traditional teacher, what they are doing is they are telling and students are remembering the things. And it's also motivation, but instead of this motivation, what we are providing, intrinsic motivation providing is, instead of, for example, if teacher doing an experiment, students also can do that experiment safely and promote the teacher this experiment to do the students also. So here, in this motivation, it creates a curiosity mind about the students. So we know that every child is a creative, and engage the child in a variety of activities, arouse curiosity, improve creativity to get him intrinsically motivated. And so finally, I'm concluding my words. There are some methods, so many methods to adopt intrinsic motivation in our academies. Finally, I'm concluding a famous word. If you risk nothing, then you risk everything. Here, thank you.
In this last round, before the three speakers, the speaker for the opposition is Ms. Nancy.
Good afternoon. As one of my opponents stated that intrinsic motivation is not an easy job. If it is not an easy job, why you are always talking about intrinsic The doctor is telling there are two methods. The first method, if you follow the first method, it will be cured within 2 weeks. If you follow the second method, that will take 5 or 6 years to cure. Which method you will adopt? Obviously, we will adopt the first method because we are living in a quick world where we need the quick result. So, and also another opponent stated that extrinsic motivation never bring results. That means I never agree with statement. I can ask a question to the audience. How many of you have reached here with your intrinsic motivation only? I am sure that most of us have reached here with the extrinsic motivation given by our parents or teachers. So let me come to my point. There are approximately 800 students in Wadi Rahma. Let me ask my beloved colleagues and the proponents of intrinsic motivation. How many among them are internally motivated to pursue their studies without any compulsion or reward? I am sure the answer will be less than 20. That means not even 2.5% of the total students. If you haven't claimed that, it is more than 20. I give you a chance. I humbly request you to tell the names of students, those who are intrinsically motivated or those who are internally motivated and they will only study for the sake of learning, even if there is no exam, who will be very punctual in submitting their assignments, even if there is no rewards or punishment, who will be in disciplined manner, even if there is no teacher to control them. I solidly believe students who are intrinsically motivated are microscopic minorities. Now my question is, how can you transform the major group into intrinsically motivated? And once again I repeat, how can you transform the major students into intrinsically motivated? The answer is, it is an emphatic no, because there is no concrete or scientific method to intrinsically motivate the students. So I challenge my opponents. If you have a clear steps to present how to internally motivate the students, what will be the step 1 to internally motivate the student? What will be the step to internally motivate the students? What will be the step 3 to internally motivate the student? If you can see a clear-cut steps for me as step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, boom, the entire students are internally motivated. We can apply it in our Wadi Rahma. The entire 800 students in our school will be intrinsically motivated. So we can cherish the dream of becoming #1 school in India. So there is no need of project team to work on it. And our chairman will be very happy that he can save lot of money. What he can do is that he can just apply the step given by our intrinsic motivators in our school. That he can relax and stay back. We have numerous experienced examples from our own teachers who are always motivating the students extrinsically. Last year, Dr. Asad has declared special reward for class 10 students for achieving their targets in the board exam. Most of the students work hard and they have reached the success in achieving it. If you take the example of any legendary figures in any figure who reached the pinnacle of success in their life, they were extrinsically motivated during their childhood by their parents or by their teachers. Before stopping, let me underline my challenges. I claim not more than 20 students in Wadi Rahma are intrinsically motivated. I request my opponents to present a clear methodology for intrinsically motivating the students. I conclude my words by saying that extrinsic motivation is the best motivation that you can give to your child. Thank you.
Now we have the sweet speakers, but before we call upon them, we have to decide the order in which they will be presenting their viewpoint. So that we toss a coin. The first one to take the stage is Nada.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm the sweet speaker of intrinsic motivation. We have one of the finest job in the world. We are motivating young generation. We are working with people of fun, adventurous, having courage, and having creativity. So, how can we motivate this high energetic people that we are discussing? The opposition team were describing all the activities done by the teachers by motivating is extrinsic because it is done externally, so it is extrinsic. And they are using many theories, many codes, and many psychological aspects for describing their stand. That is extrinsic motivation. I, with all the courtesy to Mr. Shashi Tharoor, I am saying these are the exasperating farrago of distortions and misrepresentations and outright lies which describe extrinsic motivation. Anything coming from external is not extrinsic motivation. If you are saying a teacher is downloading information to the students using this reward and punishment model, then it is extrinsic motivation. When a teacher is using child-centric classroom, using choice, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking in her usage of education, learning practice, then she is using an intrinsic motivation. And you were saying, if it is a risky process by using this child-centric classroom, why you are going for that? There is no shortcut for success. Even our father of nation has done in a has not gone for this shortcut. He is a very good example for a person with intrinsic motivation. His long-term effort has created a country with democratic, secular values. This democratic and secular values we achieved only after a long term. If it was just a war and we won, we will not get a true India. Year-long approach is not easy, but it will be worthful. We were using this carrot and stick model for a long time, and what we have created is individuals they are not working for unconditionally. We need people with goals. Their goals should be unconditional. And then they were asking about scientific method. You are educators, you do the research. Many educators have done their research. For intrinsic motivation, one of the most adopted thing is internal control psychology clubbed with choice theory, classes choice theory. There is one of the evidence. There are 40 years of working experience for adopting intrinsic motivation. And my co-speaker has clearly described the harmful effects of rewards and punishments. I'm not taking this time to again explain why rewards, why punishments is not acceptable. So, the teachers and policy makers, I urge for a learning approach which is making the children intrinsically motivated. If you value creativity, if you value critical thinking, please go for that. Where there is a will, there is a way. Thank you very much.
Mr. Ramesh.
Good afternoon. Thank you, dear speakers. I would like to briefly clear up what appears to be a slight misunderstanding by our opposing colleagues. First of all, I would like to start by the famous developmental psychologist from Russia, Vygotsky's quote.
extrinsic motivation is a desire to action that springs from outside influences instead of from one's own feelings. It is clearly stating that the feelings are external. A classroom is a miniature society. When society is completely motivated by external benefits, why can't we introduce this a little bit of external benefit inside the classroom? That is our question. So, first of all, I am going to refute their arguments one by one. First argument put forward against us is extrinsic motivation is not sustainable. In that case, we want to ask them, we are getting from the childhood onwards, from our mother, father, grandparents, and from the elementary teachers, KG teachers, we are all getting extrinsic motivation. And due course of time, we are going to internalize it. All of a sudden, how this extrinsic motivation is going to vanish? That is my first question. The second argument put forward by them is, due to extrinsic motivation, students expect rewards lifelong. They are going to be reward-minded, not based on values and all this. That is the next important argument. That also I am going to vehemently refute on the basis of, we are going to reward the students when they accomplish the task in the proper way. If they did not complete the task in the proper way, we are not going to reward them. And we are going to reward them in the way of a pat, or in the way of a hug, or in the way of a star in the notebook, and we are not going to talk about giving them a 1 kg of gold or transferring into their account 1 crore of rupees. We are not talking about it. Then, the next argument put forward by them is punishments are detrimental. Of course, we agree that. Corporal punishment, we don't agree. But at the same time, we want to ask you a question. How will you manage with a student who is not ready to cooperate with you and not ready to obey the school rules and classroom rules? That we want to ask specifically. As my colleague asked, what is your first principle, what is your second principle, and what is your third principle to cope up with this situation according to extrinsic motivation? Students are going to finish the work of the punishing teacher, as my colleague told here. First, they are going to prioritize the work on behalf of this punishing teacher, then the other teacher who is going to be lenient. So we have to choose in between. There also, extrinsic is going to be more powerful than intrinsic. Here in between, I want to ask you a question. What will you do with a student who is not ready to obey the rules and regulations of the school? That I want to ask you again, because desirable behavioral changes are possible only with the help of, I want to underline categorically, that is possible only with the help of extrinsic motivation. Undesirable attitudes, undesirable behaviors, all these we have to wipe out with minor punishments. That is our motto, or that is our stand. And the next important point or argument they put forward against us is, trophies or medals, all these are going to create a short-term impact. We totally disagree with it. When the principal award it in the assembly, or when the principal award it in the ground, what is going to happen? The reverberance of those trophies and the awards which is given by the authorities are going to reverberate inside the classroom. It is going to have an appraisal, that is peer group appraisal. That is very important. The peer group appraisal is going to come from them. That is going to be very important for them. In my personal experience also, I have found that the teachers who introduced already this type of extrinsic motivation, there will be a calm and peace inside the classroom. Thereby, we can create a peaceful atmosphere inside the classroom. So there I want to wind up by saying that extrinsic motivation is the one of the best thing which we can introduce inside the classroom and become a successful teacher. So thank you very much. Thank you.
So that's it. We have concluded the rounds, and now for the next.
Good afternoon. One of the member told, extrinsic motivation is easier and faster, getting fast results, why do we run behind intrinsic motivation? My dear teachers, a sincere teacher, I underline the word, a sincere teacher can handle the task of more tougher intrinsic motivation. Then, a child's life does not end with his school life. The intrinsic motivation got him in the schools should lead the entire life of the students. And the intrinsically motivated students can perform more persistently and are less likely to quit facing difficulties. And thirdly, as the intrinsic motivation is very important in building habits, we don't want to create a society of rigid and narrow-minded, profit lovers people in the society. And I heard one more argument about this Kalolsam and competitions and all. Actually, nowadays, we all know what's happening with this Kalolsam and competitions. It actually kills the creativity of the students. It is not bringing any of their own creativity. Actually, the competition between parents, especially their parents and guardians. Thank you.
Nowadays, we are giving base mark for the youth festival winners. Same time, one thing is that nowadays, those who got high mark in 10th standard, the government avoided the rank system. Even though nowadays the students are the winners numbers are increasing in our schools. Nowadays, most of the schools getting 100%. But we avoided the rank system. And one more thing is that now our day leaders, all day leaders, if you think about Gandhiji, is actually intrinsically motivated. He's not extrinsically motivated. All day peoples, all are. Now if you think about Prophet Muhammad, Yeshu, all are like that. And our Abraham Lincoln, Edison, all are like most of the great peoples are orphans. They would not get any reward or any punishment, but they think internally. So they could win in the society. They became the great leaders. So I strongly supporting the intrinsic motivation is the best way to build.
Good afternoon. After watching this debate, we all understood the motivation is very important to all. Which one we have to follow, that is our question. Now I have to tell the intrinsically motivated child, when he will become a person or a citizen, he will be able to face all challenges, then he can solve his problems with himself or herself without any support. And if a person intrinsically motivated, he will be able to serve us without any condition. He will take care of us unconditionally, without money, without reward. If a person motivated extrinsically, they will do everything with money. Now I have to conclude my words with Edward Aming's word. The monetary rewards are not a substitute for intrinsic motivation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. In this discussion, I understood that the concept of intrinsic motivation is just a theory. The proponents of intrinsic motivation is simply trying to put forward the practical model. In history, we can see a lot of theories which become absolutely worthless later. I believe such an utopian concept cannot be executed at the practical level. Thank you so much.
Here the board team had spoken about motivation, and we the students not needed only the motivation for study, but also we needed the motivation for playing equally. We all need motivation for studying because they are not giving us equal motivation for studying and playing. Everyone will be supported for that point. And then here we secondly speak about giving punishment. If a student get punishment, he'll be or she'll be really angry about that teacher. Because why did this teacher give them punishment? If that student recognizes his or her mistake, then she'll never want to do that mistake anymore. So I internally Good afternoon, one and all. While listening this discussion and debate, I became in favor of the opposition team. So I think our kids also in that team. Otherwise, they will have come up for talking again. They are not emotionally motivated. That is why they are still sitting over there, isn't it? So, as far as I'm concerned, my point I have just noted from the first speaker. She said that motivation is within. Motivation is the fire within. So I just want to ask you, what if we add a little kerosene over there? If the fire will burn a little more, that's what we expect from an external motivation or extrinsic motivation. Then, regarding the second speaker, she said that counseling method can be used. So what is that counseling method? Isn't it a motivation by giving external way? Or is it intrinsically giving counseling? No. Why there are motivational speakers or counseling centers all over the world? Why is it giving so publicity nowadays? If everybody is intrinsically motivated, then no need of these counseling centers and motivational speakers. Then, regarding the next speaker, she said that in sports and all, children enjoy. Regarding the medals and all. What if not they are giving any prize and all? Still they will do. But they will do a little more when we are cheering up. Aren't they running a little bit faster? Did you observe that? Regarding the national speakers or Gandhiji or whoever, everybody quoted the leaders. So isn't that a motivation? Why our sweet speaker quoted Shashi Tharoor? She herself motivated by Shashi Tharoor, isn't it? And regarding Gandhiji, he was of course and intrinsically motivated, but he was not sitting silently over there, become everybody intrinsically motivated and come up for the freedom fight. He again motivated the people of India to fight for freedom of India. Then it is of course an extrinsic motivation. Thank you.
Now, the big fight is almost over, and all that I can say is that as a group, the entire hall has been motivated either intrinsically or extrinsically. Now, one of the points in favor of intrinsic motivation is that it is organic and natural. You do what you like to do. As we often cite the example of a chick inside an egg. You know, the chick is hatched by the mother hen, and when it is time for the chick to come out, what happens? On its beak, a little bit of prick, develops, and from inside, it strikes open the shell of the egg. You know that? Suppose you have to be there, and suppose you are applying your pressure from outside, what happens? The chick will die. Creativity comes certainly from inside, not from outside. But there should be what there. My child, my granddaughter, last week, She was about to stretch her hands, she was stretching her hands towards the burning flames, right? Because she was intrinsically motivated to do that. What should we do then? What should I do then? Shall I wait and counsel her and wait till she has been convinced intrinsically, or shall I hold her back? I certainly will. I did hold her back, and probably even I stared at her in an angry fashion. That happens. Actually, intrinsic motivation certainly is theoretically perfect, theoretically desirable. That's the more desirable thing. But should we forget the fact that extrinsic motivation can lead to intrinsic motivation? I think some of the speakers spoke about that also. After all, we are talking about examinations. What is examination? Is it intrinsic or extrinsic? I know that the intrinsic side has the popular support here because as children we all do not want to be thinking of punishments, getting punished. No. That's right. But what is punishment? It's not corporal punishment alone, is it? I have one of my students telling me that one of the worst experiences he had was not getting the right kind of punishment at the right time. He said so. We have examples of people who say that punishments improved them, which is not to say that punishment is always good. No. Punishment ought to come not from the outside considerations of reward or whatever. It has to come from the inside of the teacher's heart. A punishment comes from the teacher's heart can never be painful. It might pain for some time, but it will not pain for in the long run. I'm not taking the side of the extrinsic motivation group. All I'm saying is that the two are not mutually exclusive. They are not mutually exclusive. You certainly need intrinsic motivation, but you cannot write off the relevance of extrinsic motivation. This is what I have felt. We have all around, we have people, of course, who stand testimony to the fact that intrinsic motivation is the best when you get it. We have the neighborhood example of Noor Jalila. We have examples, very many other examples like that. Intrinsic motivation is okay as in theory and in practice, but when you come to a system of school administration, a system where you have a mass of people taking part, you have to think of a combination of both intrinsic and extrinsic. This is one of the, again, I'm not imposing my view on anybody, I'm just trying to balance the two and trying to put forward my view on the whole thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable views on the debate that has been going on. Now I invite our respected principal, Mr. Rishda C. Joseph, sir, to cut a balance between the two. I think he may do that. Because the two teams have been arguing ferociously for their arguments, and now it is upon the principal to decide what method of motivation he is going to implement in the institution. So he is the right person to decide the things in the future. So I invite you, sir, to present here your views on this debate. Thank you.
Good afternoon. The heat is over and the calm prevails. The battle of voice is over, and the judgment remains in our hearts, in our brains. Before I get into the section of arguments, I appreciate Ms. Alati to show the kindness of how to display and express her views. Intrinsically or extrinsically, this is the purpose of education. Education is enabling an individual to find the meaning of life. We are sent to this world, whether you believe it or not, you have a mission to accomplish. And at different stages of your life, you have depended, or everyone has to depend on people. In the form of parents, teachers, society, the country at large. Everyone is contributing and enabling you to find the meaning of life. Whether you internalize these assistances in the form of learning, in the form of acquiring skills and talents, and eventually getting to a stage where you start reflecting. I would agree with both teams in certain terms. The first thing is combining both the teams' arguments, you need motivation. Whether it is intrinsically or extrinsically. Why should we need motivation? Each individual has a dream or has a goal. And this desire of achieving the goal should spark or ignite your inner sources to translate the entire self of yours to action. And you should be in a position to sustain this, to carry on. Awake, arise, and stop not until you achieve your dream or your goal. This hangs there, said by Swami Vivekananda, I believe. And the motivation, as Mr. Nishad said, you pamper, you punish, and you support like a friend. These are inevitable in different stages of life. And we have been listening to the views of educators. I must accept that they have done their homework well and presented the points with the substantial evidences. And my conclusion is that motivation, whether it is intrinsic or extrinsic, they complement each other. What does it mean? Certainly they complement each other. You cannot run a school without extrinsically motivating the children to do and complete the task, because we have shorter goals. For example, we present Ronaldo, the way he deceived his opponents and scores goals, he has become a legendary icon in the football field. But for that, to become that, he has toiled, he has shed his sweat with countless number of hours in the field. He had worked very hard indeed. But every time he achieves, that becomes his energy to strive further. The perseverance comes from the achievements that he gets. Why should FIFA award players? Why should the Film World award Oscar? Why should we recognize the top rankers? This education system has done away with the ranks, but when we have competitive examinations, we have that. That's why hundreds of thousands of children walk around practicing this one to become successful. But as we quoted Mahatma Gandhi, before him he internalized the great ideas of Bible, Quran and Bhagavad Gita. But he internalized, and his thought process has given him the energy to set himself as the best example for the Indians and for the world too at large to follow him. Because you remember when Obama was sworn in, he said it openly that Mahatma Gandhi and his philosophies influenced him greatly. And that is an internalized ideology which was proved by him and carried on, or it's being carried out by hundreds of thousands of people. Bringing or putting all these points together, we need extrinsic motivations in the classroom, outside in the system of education for achieving short-term goals. And we need intrinsic motivation to sustain the achievements and lead a happy life. After all, the educational philosophy and the system enables everyone to have a happy life. So this debate has to continue when we plan the next academic year. What should be the strategy and what should be the philosophy, what should be the ideology of Wadi Rahma English School? Inside the classroom, outside, and how are we going to motivate our children for a purposeful learning? I underline purposeful learning. It's not only confined to the grades that they achieve out of the exams. It is the happiness quotient they achieve in their life. Thank you very much.
Respected moderator, Dr. Yaseen Ashraf, beloved principal, Yaseen Ashraf, our beloved academic coordinator, Mr. Abdul Rashid P, the project coordinator, Mr. Talha, head of the Montessori section, Ms. Muhsira, Chairman, Wadi Rahma Governing Board, Mr. KCC Hussain, dear teachers, panel of the intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation, and my dear students, good afternoon to every one of you. At the outset, we all are motivated either intrinsically or extrinsically. As our principal mentioned, both are complementary motivation, like father and mother in a family system. Without these two motivations, the life will not be successful. At this occasion, it is my proud privilege to propose a heartfelt thankfulness and gratitude to our dear moderator, Dr. Yaseen Ashraf, who is the Associate Editor of Madhyamam Daily and the Managing Director of Media One. Sir, at this occasion, I extend my heartfelt gratitude for your valuable presence and for your keen observation, which is being combined from both intrinsic and extrinsic panel. Thank you, sir. Also, we watched and witnessed the opinion of our beloved principal, who put a line between this intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, who is one of the most dynamic persons in Wadi Rahma and who spent his huge energy to bring this function like a successful one. Sir, thanks a lot. As you know, the chief architect of this Wadi, this talk and this Wadi debate, Mr. Abdul Rashid P, who has been working last few weeks to bring this function into such a colorful and a meaningful way. I extend my proud privilege and my proud gratitude to our beloved Rashid sir for his endeavors and for his huge effort to bring this function a successful one. Thank you, sir. The Montessori head, Miss Mufsira, she is been presenting in this function and presented some valuable points in support, in favor of this extrinsic motivation. Also, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Ms. Mufsira as the Montessori head for her valuable presentation in this occasion. On top of all this, as you know, Mr. KCC Hussain is one of the chief captain of Wadi Rahma English School, who has been providing his unconditional support and encouragement to promote into this type of activities in our school. I extend my proud gratitude to Mr. KCC Hussain for his endeavors and for his entire team for their great effort to bring Wadi Rahma into the top level. Also, it is my proud privilege to extend the gratitude to the team of Intrinsic Motivation, the panel of Intrinsic Motivation, also the panel of Extrinsic Motivation members for their keen observation and hard research for many weeks. Thank you, sir, and thank you, teacher. Finally, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Talha, the project coordinator, and the teachers who have been seated in front of me, and my beloved students, boys and girls who are intrinsically and extrinsically motivated. My heartfelt gratitude and thanks, and all the warmth and evening, the warmth evening of all this day is given to every one of you. Also, I extend my gratitude to the technical staff and our administrator, Mr. Anbar Baba, and all the supporting and other staffs who have been helping in this function. Thank you every one of you.